In a dimly lit bar, the air thick with the smell of cheap beer and stale smoke, a group of rowdy Marines were celebrating their shore leave. Their laughter was loud, their boasts even louder. Across the room, a lone woman sat nursing a drink. Her name was Lieutenant Commander Evelyn Evethorne. But to them, she was just an anonymous face in the crowd. Eve was a Navy SEAL, one of the first women to ever pass the grueling training and join the elite ranks. Tonight, she was simply trying to unwind, a rare moment of peace away from the relentless demands of her job. The Marines, fueled by alcohol and bravado, started getting more boisterous. One of them, a corporal named Jake, with a swagger that far outmatched his rank, noticed Eve. He saw a pretty woman sitting alone and decided she was the perfect target for his charms. He sauntered over, his buddies cheering him on. "Hey there, beautiful. A lady like you shouldn't be drinking all by her lonesome," he slurred, leaning heavily on her table. Eve gave him a polite but firm smile. "I'm fine, thank you. Just enjoying the quiet." Her calm dismissal only seemed to egg him on. "Quiet. The night's young. Why don't you come join some real men?" Eve's patience was wearing thin. She had faced down threats far greater than a drunken Marine. "I appreciate the offer, but I'm going to have to decline," she said, her voice steady and low. Jake's face soured. He wasn't used to rejection. His friends started jeering from their table, goading him. "What's wrong, Jake? Can't handle one little lady." His ego bruised, Jake decided to escalate. He grabbed her arm. "Come on, don't be like that. We're just trying to have some fun." That was his first mistake. In a single, fluid motion, Eve was on her feet. She used his own momentum against him, twisting his arm in a joint lock that brought a yelp of pain to his lips. He stumbled back, clutching his wrist, his face a mask of shock and anger. The bar went quiet. All eyes were on them. "I said no," Eve stated, her voice now carrying a cold authority that cut through the drunken haze. Jake's buddies, seeing their friend humiliated, decided to intervene. They started to surround her, their expressions turning from amusement to menace. "You're gonna regret that," one of them growled, cracking his knuckles. 4 large, physically imposing Marines began to close in on her. Jake, recovering his composure, sneered. "You're in a lot of trouble now. Look around. No one's saving you now." He was right. The other patrons in the bar shrank away, not wanting any part of the confrontation. The bartender nervously reached for the phone, but hesitated. It was 4 against 1, and the one was a woman. The odds looked grim. What they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly comprehend, was that Eve was never the one in danger. For a Navy SEAL, being surrounded wasn't a predicament. It was a target-rich environment. Eve's training took over. Her mind became a calm, tactical computer, assessing threats, angles, and weaknesses. The first Marine threw a clumsy, telegraphed punch. Eve deflected it effortlessly, stepping inside his guard and delivering a sharp, precise strike to a nerve cluster in his neck. He crumpled to the floor, dazed and disoriented. The second came at her from the side. She pivoted, using his own charge to send him crashing into a table, scattering chairs and glasses. The remaining 2 paused, a flicker of doubt in their eyes. This was not going how they expected. They had picked a fight, but they had picked it with a ghost, a warrior trained in the art of turning chaos into victory. Jake watched in disbelief, as his friends were systematically and efficiently neutralized. Eve moved with a grace and power that was almost inhuman. She wasn't just fighting, she was flowing. An elbow here, a knee there, a sweep of the leg that sent the 3rd Marine tumbling. Each movement was deliberate, economical, and devastatingly effective. It was over in less than 30 seconds. 3 Marines were groaning on the floor, and the 4th, Jake, stood frozen, his jaw hanging open. Evie turned her attention back to him, her eyes as cold and deep as the ocean at midnight. She took a slow step towards him. He flinched, taking a step back, his drunken bravado completely evaporated, replaced by raw, primal fear. "You were saying something about no one saving me," she asked, her voice dangerously quiet. Jake could only shake his head, speechless. "Who's 10. The bar door swung open and two men in civilian clothes, but with the unmistakable bearing of military officers, walked in. One was a Navy captain, the other a Marine colonel. They were Eve's commanding officer and his counterpart, who had arranged to meet her there for a quiet debrief. They took in the scene, the scattered furniture, the groaning Marines on the floor, and Eve standing calmly amidst the wreckage. The Marine colonel's eyes widened. He recognized the men on the floor. They were from his unit, Lieutenant Commander Tournay. The Navy captain said, his voice betraying a hint of weary amusement, "I see you've been keeping yourself busy." The colonel looked from Eve to his men and then back to Eve, a dawning realization on his face. Thorn. As in ... SEAL team. Thorn. Eve simply nodded. The colonel's face paled. He knew the name. He knew the legends associated with it, the stories of impossible missions and unparalleled skill. He looked at Jake, who now seemed to be trying to merge with the wall. "Corporal, what is the meaning of this?" Boumet. The colonel turned to Eve, his expression a mixture of awe and profound apology. "Lieutenant. Commander, on behalf of the United States Marine Corps, I sincerely apologize for the conduct of my men." Eve gave a slight nod. "They've had a little too much to drink, Colonel. I think they've learned a valuable lesson tonight." She looked at Jake, who was visibly trembling. "Sometimes the quiet ones are the ones you should leave alone." The aftermath was swift. Military police arrived and escorted the sheepish Marines away. The bar owner, once he understood who Eve was, refused to let her pay for the damages, profusely thanking her for her service. As Eve finally sat down with her captain and the colonel, the captain chuckled. "You know, Eve, you have a real talent for making an impression." Eve took a sip of her now warm drink. "I was just trying to have a quiet night, sir." The colonel shook his head in disbelief. "Ma'am, I have a feeling your definition of quiet is a little different from everyone else's." The story of the night a lone woman took down 4 Marines in a bar spread like wildfire through the base, and for a group of rowdy young men, it became a legendary and humbling reminder. Never, ever judge a book by its cover, especially when that cover might be hiding a Navy SEAL.